Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another encouragement from the Psalms. Today we are in Psalm 27, which is an absolute belter. Please do get stuck in and enjoy it for yourself. But I just want to look at it under three kind of headings. I want to look at David's confidence, David's quest, and David's counsel. David's confidence, David's quest, and David's counsel. The first is David's confidence. He says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" You know, the fact that David's saying, "The Lord is my light," feels to me like he's been in darkness at some stage in that life. That he's known in that darkness that God was able to light it up. The fact that he's able to say that God is his salvation, it suggests that he's had moments of life where he's needed saving. And he says, given that God's lit up my darkness and he's saved me in moments of real adversity, whom shall I fear? And then he goes on to say, the Lord is the stronghold of my life. You know, our stronghold is in battle times where you can run to for safety. And David has found that in dangerous times, God was his stronghold. Of whom shall I be afraid? Do you hear David's confidence here? And what's that confidence based on? Well, if we go on to the next line, verse 2, when evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, eesh, they don't sound nice. My adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. You know, when evildoers assail me, to eat up my flesh does not sound good. David has obviously experienced these kind of dangerous foes, these evildoers that have come up against him in his life. And in fact, I've just jotted down in my Bible 1 Samuel 17, verse 44. And this is the story of when David had to face a really terrifying giant. And he needed a light, and he needed a salvation, and he needed a stronghold in this moment. But here's what the giant actually says to him in verse 44. Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field. And David said to Goliath, you come at me with a sword and a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. So here's one example of somebody who's really threatening to have David's flesh devoured by the birds and the beasts. And here we see, when evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. And what happens? What happens, Goliath? David gets that first stone, doesn't he? Wicks it round in a slingshot, bang through the forehead, and Goliath stumbles and falls. So David has found this to be true, and so have we, folks. So have we. Because our hero, Jesus Christ, when evildoers assailed him, they wanted to crucify him, to tear his flesh with whips and the like. But it says, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. Like, we can see this in two ways. We can see this in, I think it's John 18, where the soldiers come to arrest Jesus. Remember in the Garden of Gethsemane, they say, are you Jesus of Nazareth? And he says, I am he. And uttering those words, I am, the words that God reveals at the burning bush to Moses, that I am who I am, that ego eimi, that title of God. Jesus just saying those words, what happens? The soldiers fall backwards. You know, evildoers assailing Jesus to eat up his flesh, his adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. It's incredible, big, tough soldiers, and they come at Jesus and they end up flat on their backs. Or more importantly, in the act of the cross, when all of Satan's hordes gave it their best shot on Jesus' flesh, what do we see in Colossians? That, you know, he disarmed them by the cross. He led them away humiliated. He disarmed them. It was them who ended up stumbling and falling when they thought they would take him down. This is where David's confidence is in. It's in God's ability always to be light, salvation, and stronghold in every situation. Listen, though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. The war rise against me, yet I will be confident. He's confident because he knows who he serves. He knows who he worships. He's confident. That's David's confidence. The second thing is David's quest. I love this. The next number of verses really go into David's one thing. There was a famous, I think it was by Søren Kierkegaard, a famous book, and it said purity of heart is to will one thing. More secular wise, Steve Jobs, the founder of the iPhone and all that sort of stuff, inventor of the iPhone, he said if you can pour all your energies into one thing and do it really well, you can change the world. Well, David's one thing, that one thing he seeks after, is that he might dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of his life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord, to inquire in his temple. He is desperate to go deeper into the presence of God. I love as it moves on here, it says, you have said, seek my face. My heart says of you, your face, Lord, I do seek. He wants to see, just like Moses wanted to see, show me your glory, show me your face. I want to see your face. I've had your arm. You've been my light, my salvation, and my stronghold. I've won the battles. Now I want to see your face. Not just your hand, but also your face. I love it. There's even a little beautiful little verse 4, where it talks about one thing I have asked of the Lord, but it says to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to meditate in his temple. I mean, have you experienced that? You gaze upon his beauty, you read a verse and you just go, wow, and then you meditate on it. Those are the two stages of the joyful enjoyment, the joyful employment of Christians, that we gaze and then we meditate. We find something beautiful in the Bible and then we meditate on it, because we don't just want his hand, we want to see his face. We don't just want God's activity, we want intimacy with him. That's what I read in this passage. So we have his confidence, we have his quest, and finally we have his counsel. He says this, I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord. Verse 13. Apparently a better translation of this would be, where would I be if I didn't believe that I would look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living? He's saying to his people, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't know that God would come through. And here's his counsel. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Folks, here's David's encouragement. He has confidence. He's on a quest, but he wants all his people to have the same confidence and to be on the same quest. He says to them twice, wait for the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. What he's saying is he wants us to wait long enough in the presence of God to have the same confidence he has. And we're going to need to wait in his presence if we're going to see more than just his hand, and we're going to see his face. Folks, can I encourage you? Seek after him with all your heart. Know his light is salvation. Know him as a stronghold, even in your darkest day. Wait on him. Amen.